Verse 40, one of the two who heard John speak and followed Jesus was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. And yes, so here's just a mention of the name of one of these two. Okay, and this is now Andrew. Why is he important? Because Peter is going to be important. So we are going to be introduced to Peter soon. Verse 41. He first found his own brother Simon and said to him, "We have found the Messiah," which means Christ. Just so interesting, so Andrew, you don't read a lot about him. He is unlike John and James kind of idea. You read a lot about them, but not so much about Andrew. And it's more to do as well with the fact that, I mean, or at least not so much to do with the fact, well, overshadowed by Peter, but he didn't play a huge role. And you as well need not always play a huge role. You need not be the pastor to play a huge role in church. You can be the one washing the dishes after a Sunday meal or something like that and still play a huge role in a church, because you might tell the gospel to someone who then ultimately becomes a new John Calvin or R.C. Sproul or somebody like that. Okay? And so although you seemingly didn't do a lot in the kingdom like Andrew did here, actually he played a huge role, because thanks to him, well, I mean, ultimately God is in control, but he was the one who God used to bring in his brother. And this is what we've seen in verse 41, where he then went and he told that Simon that we found the Messiah, and in brackets, which means the Christ. So again, there is this, he said we found the Messiah. Did he understand already all of it just because he saw where Jesus lived? Well, he most likely spoke a bit with him and things like that, but even then, this is just the Messiah which they didn't really fully understand yet. There's going to be so many times mentioned about the fact that we didn't understand. So yes, it's a Messiah, but who exactly that Messiah is, he didn't know yet, or didn't understand yet, didn't comprehend yet. But so now it's like, we found the Messiah, which means Christ. Now for the one group again, in a different language, like before with rabbi, meaning teacher, Messiah, right? The Christ, which means the Christ. It's exactly the same thing happening here. Verse 42, he brought him to Jesus. Jesus looked at me and said, "You are Simon, the son of John. You shall be called Cephas," which means Peter. So here Andrew brings his brother to Jesus. Now it seems in other Gospels as they met when he was fishing. Now that does not imply that they didn't meet when they were fishing, okay, or that this didn't happen, or that that's a different kind of, that how does this all fit in with that, okay? Right, it does not imply that that part is historically correct and this part is historically incorrect, or how do you get the two together? The idea of Jesus going and meeting Peter when he's there on the boat fishing and then telling him to throw on the other side, and here he is actually brought to Jesus by Andrew. I believe both cases, these things are not contradictory. In this case, he's brought to Jesus. That's the first thing that happened by his brother Andrew. But then the other thing that's going to happen is going to happen at a later date. They, like Peter, like the rest of them, they didn't understand yet what that concept of Messiah means. That is why it's well easily you can say there, "Get away from me because I'm a sinner," kind of idea, because they saw more proof of it. Okay, here he's just going to hear from his word, and he got a name changed by Jesus ultimately. But exactly the deeper meaning, the deeper context, the concept of sinlessness, of the fact that Jesus is holy, right? Like in that case, Peter is going to say, to get away from him. So it's not a contradictory or whatever. It happened at a different time, and this, understandably, it happened first. Okay, so Jesus looked at him and he gave him a new name. He didn't. We don't know. Did Andrew tell Jesus that he has his brother and this is his name? Right? And I'm going to call him and tell him. Did he do that? We don't know. Did Jesus have special knowledge given to him by the Spirit here? We don't know. Both can be true. because remember, Jesus as man didn't know everything. So Jesus as man had to get knowledge from the Father through the Spirit, like we do. And the Father dictated to Jesus whatever he needed to know on a need-to-know basis, right? He was not a superhuman, he was not Superman in that sense, or super knowledge or something like that. He just got like the same what we can have from the Spirit. And so yes, he could have given him this knowledge, but at the same time he could have just been speaking to Andrew, and Andrew could have told him. So both can be true. Okay, he could have had the knowledge first and then Andrew told him, or Andrew told him and then it was reiterated by God or something through the Spirit. But what clearly is something that is new, that he had to be told by the Spirit to Jesus, is the fact that who he will be, this new name change, Cephas, right? Which means Peter. Again, that is from the north. There they would understand it, but now he's writing to these people there in the south. They might not understand what the Cephas means, so he says it means rock, right? Peter, actually, Petros, we ought to have been as well, understandable, but he didn't say, I'm calling you now Peter, I'm calling you now Cephas, which then means rock. Okay, that's as well again, for me, proof that this is written to them there, and the reason why it's written like that. Okay, so now this knowledge is have been imparted by the Spirit to Jesus, because this name change, so that he's now going to be a rock, and which the church wasn't built on ultimately on Peter, it's built on Jesus, right? But it's in his testimony ultimately of who Jesus is, because Jesus is the cornerstone of the church. And but this name change and it harkens back to as well the creation story, where God is the one who gave names to things to imply what they are going to be, the role they will fulfill, their essence, what they're going to be. So by Jesus doing this, calling Peter now, giving a new name, he is as well pointing back towards Genesis chapter 1 and in certain sense chapter 2, where Adam is naming animals as well, but Jesus is not on an Adam level, understandably, so that would rather be kind of more to chapter 1.